Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox. Fergus Ewing, the ex-Minister for Rural Affairs, has said that the SNP must unalign itself from the Greens. He's saying that these people are extremists and that their mad policies are a distinct electoral turn-off to the vast majority of Scots. It's damaging the SNP reputation being involved in government with them. He's quite right, of course, and the SNP has run a government before from a minority position, getting policies through on a vote-by-vote basis. It's not impossible. Alex Salmond famously did it. So we're going to take a look at this article to see why Mr. Ewing says it's a bad idea. And as I was doing this article, it did occur to me that although his name is Ewing, it's spelled Ewing, which is likely where Peter Murrell may well end up. Anyway, we'll cut to the article now and see what's going on. Right, and of course, being Rural Affairs Minister was the role that, of course, was offered to Kate Forbes. She rejected it, saying it was too junior, considering that she'd been the Finance Minister. But it seemed to suit him. That was under the Sturgeon regime, but now he's an ex-minister. But he is starting to criticise. He would never have criticised, of course, during the Sturgeon era, but he feels quite easily able to do so now. So ex-minister hits out at the Greens and calls for an end to the power sharing deal. Fergus Ewing has become an outspoken critic of the SNP government in recent months. So a former minister turned SNP rebel has called for the end of the power sharing agreement between the government and the Greens, as he dubs the party wine bar pseudo-intellectuals. In recent months, Fergus Ewing has become an outspoken critic of the upper echelons of the Scottish Government and the SNP, particularly around the duelling of the A96 and the deposit return scheme. The deposit return scheme, as we know, is an absolute non-starter. If they push this through, it will cost the country millions. And they're paying someone about $300,000 a year just to run it. It is ridiculous. Anyway, now Ewing, who most recently served as the Rural Affairs Secretary in Nicola Sturgeon's government, has attacked the Scottish Greens after new First Minister Humza Yousaf made the decision to continue the deal that put their co-leaders in government and solidified a pro-independence majority in Holyrood. At what massive cost, though? The Green policies, obviously they include the Gender Recognition Bill, for which 99% of Scotland disagrees, the deposit scheme, which will be an unmitigated disaster. They're actually wanting to push for terminations up to the point of birth. These people are absolutely monstrous. Anyway, he said, in politics, you are judged by what you do or fail to do, but you're also judged by the alliances you make, he wrote in the Daily Mail. We've allied ourselves to a small group of fringe extremists that want to dismantle our economy, put hundreds of thousands on the dole and basically close down rural Scotland. They want to end things like lumber, which is a massive employer. They want to end things like farming, particularly beef farming, which is a big employer, big money spinner. They want to end the fishing, which again is an industry, a major industry. They want to end oil, which again is probably the biggest income earner for Scotland. They want to destroy everything that is going to save Scotland. The SNP are aligning themselves with the biggest electoral liability of all time. And this is why the Greens will always be a fringe group. They're too extreme and they're too frightening for most people. If you've got a job, the last thing you want is a Green government, because as soon as you get a Green government, you haven't got a job. The whole economy collapses and everyone is unemployed. Anyway, the SNP managed to govern as a minority between 2007 and 2011, Ewing said, proving that the deal was not actually necessary, which I mentioned earlier. He took aim at the Green position on oil and gas, claiming the party says the industry should be shut down right now, as well as field sports and farming, saying the Greens want to ban salmon fishing and beef production. All the sort of things that bring people to Scotland or will produce money for Scotland. And these people want to make everyone unemployed and damage the economy, as I say. The Greens' 2021 manifesto pledges to introduce tighter regulations on salmon fishing. Ewing accused the Green tail of wagging the yellow dog, suggesting greenback policies had lost the trust of SNP members. I think it's more the yellow-bellied dog. Humza Yousaf does not have the stomach to go to the people and ask for another election, another mandate, in which case he would perhaps win a majority. He won't, of course, but he will then be formally able to unalign himself to the Greens. I don't think he's got the balls to just say to them, no, we're no longer doing it, and running as a minority government. Salmon had it, he does not. On the duelling of the A9, on their plans on gender recognition reform to allow children far younger than 16 to decide to change their gender, on the dire and defective deposit return scheme, on these issues and more, the SNP government has lost support, lost members and alienated many. And while they're aligned to the Greens and the madness of Green policies, they will continue to alienate more people until eventually the SNP becomes an irrelevance. Now, formally, I would, as an outsider on this, because I'm not an SNP member, I'm thinking this is absolutely brilliant. But if you are an SNP member, it must become increasingly difficult to look at these policies and say, yay, I support them. Because whilst you may be pro-independence, you can't possibly be pro-misery, pro-poverty, pro-putting yourself out of a job and making your family hungry. You can't be pro that. So why are you voting for a party that's keeping in check and under the thumb of the Greens? It's mental, isn't it? Many who formerly were sympathetic towards us as long as we concentrated on competent government, but are no longer there. Once this process of losing trust starts, it is hard to stop. It snowballs. It is a cascade. And I believe it's too late. I believe the cascade has already tipped. You've gone over the inflection point, and it's just going to tumble all the way down now. This association sends out entirely the wrong signals to the country, a clear majority of whose people we must win over to our cause, and in whose trust is an essential ingredient of achieving our aim of being a normal, independent country. Yes, you are losing that trust, and you're not winning people over. You are losing people at an increasingly swift rate. You've gone from 104,000 to 72,000. Chances are by now it's already far fewer than that. It is deeply worrying for the SNP at how quickly they're losing people, losing support. I mean, it's great for everyone else, but I think Alex Salmond is loving it. I think he's picking up an awful lot of the support. But to make the SNP completely irrelevant would be the best thing of all. So technically, stay with the Greens, because while you do that, you become ever more increasingly unelectable. But this guy has nailed it. He has recognised the problem. So I am giving him a fair crack on the whip to say that he has at least recognised the problem. And well, it's like anything. The first steps on a cure is to recognise you actually have the problem. He says the message is out loud and clear, and it's time for the new FM to recognise the damage the association with the Green Party has caused and scrap the Butte House agreement. Keep it. Absolutely keep it. Because while you keep it, the world sees the Greens and you for what you are. If you were both in opposition, it wouldn't matter what you said. Nobody would listen to what you were saying. But you are the government. People are paying attention and they're seeing what you stand for, what you're doing, what you're saying, and they don't like it. And it just means that come the next election, you're going to get wiped out. Green MSP Ross Greer asked why his party and SNP did so well at last year's council elections if their policies were damaging and unpopular. It's because there's an awful lot of foaming, rabid SNP supporters who will vote that way regardless. If you told them they had to sacrifice their firstborn sons and shove coconuts up their behind, they would do that and then still put an X in the SNP box because they don't understand the full implications of what that X means. He added, frankly, his brand of conservative politics makes him indistinguishable from the Tories on most issues. Well, that's a load of crap, isn't it? He was part of an SNP government that continued to screw Scotland and he caused a lot of damage. So he's actually very good. He's a normal, typical SNP minister. So I don't know why they're all of a sudden turning on him. He said, so if it's a return to the front bench he's angling for, then he probably stands a better chance with his dear friend Douglas Ross than he does with his progressive government. They use the term progressive in a way that makes it sound good. What they actually mean by the word progressive is damaging to the country. That's how it is. But anyway, there he is. He's sitting there. You've got another person within Humza Yousaf has got another person within his own party criticising him, criticising the decisions he's made, and criticising his partners in government. So that's, you've got the 15 that we talked about yesterday, and now here's another one on a different subject, criticising something else. Will the criticism of Humza Yousaf from his own side ever end? I hope not. I shall round off here, come up, and we'll finish the video. So I say, Fergus Ewing has hit the nail firmly on the head. He has called it out, and he's not alone. I mean, Humza Yousaf is a week into the job. He is getting criticised left, right and centre from members of his own party. The opposition don't need to do anything. The opposition can just sit back and let the party destroy itself. Every time anyone in the SNP opens their mouths now, it's a party political broadcast for every other party in Scotland. It's fantastic to watch. But does Humza Yousaf not realise how useless he actually is? He's failed in every portfolio. He's failed at everything he's ever done. And now he's failing here. This government will not last long. The wheels are coming off this bus really quickly. And I think that as soon as he now he's probably, to be fair, he's probably sitting in cabinet meetings with them. They're having a circle jerk and he's sitting there fingering his own nipples and they're all thinking how great they are. But the truth is, they're not. They're not great. They are not even mediocre. This is the problem you have. But Fergus Ewing's got it right. The longer they stay in this arrangement with the Greens, the worse it is for the SNP. But by God, the better it is for everyone else. So long may it last. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. If you like what you're seeing here on the channel, please do hit that subscribe button right now and ring that bell for notification of future output. Leave a like, leave a comment, please share the video, and until next time, stay safe, stay well, God bless you, Mr. Ewing, and goodbye.